Hello and welcome, and I shall put up the music. And another welcome from me. My name is Eleonore Soei-Winkels from PostdocTransformation, and I welcome you at the National Postdoc Appreciation Week, virtual but in the US. And I think that maybe you have seen me yesterday as well, where I did the readiness, check your readiness for your leap into science or into business. And I hope that you also did like that. If not, you will find the replay also over at the overview page. Okay, so without further ado, I have something really special for you. As I already alluded to earlier, I think that networking in the last session, I think that networking will give you the boost that you need to sort of hit the ground running. Okay, so even if you know that you want to leap out of science, you have to know the right people so that you can learn from them. And networking will be a great means for that. So what we will have is, this is the second session. I have 3 more to go. And if you want to submit your questions, you can use this link, which I will show you in a minute or in a second. Here it is. This one, you can click on the comment, and then it will take you to my page where you can use the question form to submit all your questions that you want to submit, not in public. Okay, so maybe you want to be, disclosed, and you don't want to let the public know that you are contemplating about the leap. So that's fine. Just be sure that you maintain or benefit from the whole session by asking your specific career questions. Otherwise, it will be just a short talk. But essentially, the best benefit you will have if you ask your own specific questions. All right. So this is the link that you can use. And if you follow then that link, you can also just click on it like here. Take that one out. If you couldn't find the link, go to my website, just Google Postdoc Transformation. You will find a white top banner. Click on that because it says NPAWS, or National Postdoc Appreciation Week, and then you will find this page, and at the bottom you will find this form where you can ask questions. All right. Okay, so how to network for your career transition into business. Well, to me, honestly, I think that that can be something, it's a make or break thing in business, networking. Okay, so if you don't know about networking, when you are in business, it will be hard for you, first of all, to leap, but also to thrive. Okay, so what you probably will always have is the feeling that you don't know everything, but you probably have to decide and to act in business. And that is normal, even though you think that is probably something special because you've been transitioning from science into business. That's a normal situation. And if you don't know the right people as a leader who then can give your team the insights that you don't have because you can't know everything, then you are a bad leader. So good leaders in business also know how to network. Okay, so networking is important for everyone. And especially for you as postdocs, if you are leaving out of science, you should know that the business world is split it into two halves, right? So the ones who make the money because they own a company, or they are entrepreneurs, or the ones who are working for a company, so they are employed. So you have the employers and the employers and the employees. Okay, so most of the PhD students and postdocs I know want to leap out of science into an employment, because employment is at least something that they know. So could you maybe comment in the comment section whether you want to be employed or whether you want to be an entrepreneur after your postdoc or after your PhD? Just note that in the comments so that I know in which direction we should go. And while you are commenting, you are also invited to comment from where you are dialing in or watching. So that is always interesting for me, because I'm from Germany, obviously here, but I am presenting at the virtual National Postdoc Appreciation Week, which happens to be organized by the US National Postdoc Appreciation Organization. All right. So maybe I have comments soon. And while I'm waiting, I would love to discuss with you the main direction, which I assumed is that you want to be employed. Okay, so for employment issues or purposes, then you will want to discuss everything that is a challenge for the leader, the potential leaders. Okay, so you will want to connect with potential leaders or colleagues or recruiters. Why is that important? Because when you apply to a new company, you should first of all know in which industry and so on and so forth. But when you apply to the new company, then you want to know before you are applying whether the people who are in there are the right people for you, whether they offer the right professional but also personal development context. Okay, so that's why it's so important that you have a feeling for what type of leaders do they employ, what type of people do they employ as your co-workers, your colleagues. And especially if you say that you want to be, recruited by a company, then you should also know the recruiters. I mean, some recruiters prefer this way and some do prefer that way. Some are actively sourcing. So some of them are in LinkedIn looking for new candidates who aren't visible on the job market. So it's always great to know recruiters. And what you want to know from these leaders, potential colleagues, co-workers, and also recruiters is you want to know you want to gain these insights about the industry, the company, the business model, what are their challenges currently, what are the product pipelines, service pipelines, something like that, where they are in the middle of the company's life cycle, so to speak. Do they have competitors? Something like that. So all of these you can ask in information interviews. And I have done an interview, a role play of an information interview with Dr. Gertrude Nantra, and we had it on an Instagram Live, and I can put the link into the show notes as well. But essentially, we did a role play in the sense that she's an expert for information interviews, and she interviewed me. I was pretending to be an expert in IT strategy consulting, which I was before I became a professor. So I was able to sort of role play that role in the sense that I could also mirror whether the questions that she was asking, whether they were suitable for a cold or a warm contact, right? So you would ask information on the macro and micro level, which I would name it. Okay, so the best platform for your networking is actually, especially during this pandemic time, right? Especially it's LinkedIn. You can also network in other platforms, but I think that what you want to know is, one, how the organizational culture is, who the people are, whether they know these and those kind of challenges and how they tackle them, and so on and so forth. And I think that everything like that is sort of relational is something that is best depicted or best Yeah, it's best probably understood in LinkedIn, because there you can see the connections between people and also their personal profile that they are actively maintaining. And I think it's harder in Twitter, where people do not use their real name. Okay, so the good thing is that business leaders, most of the business leaders should be or are on LinkedIn. Okay, should be is something that I will clarify later, but they should be there, and they are. Most of them aren't really active. The ones who are pushed and also know the advantage of networking and being highly visible do that really well, but they probably are also supported by the companies. So their individual page is really informative in the sense that you will know whether they have an HR marketing team behind that probably helps them to post and to become a thought leader, visibly and known expert. But if they are not looking very professional, you can still see a pattern that is authentic, because no one can do this, being active on LinkedIn and everything like that, just not having a profile, but also posting, commenting, liking, engaging, and everything. No one can do this all by himself or herself without being authentic. Okay, so you will see a pattern, and that will tell you whether you will want to work for that person or not. And that is something important, right? So when you apply to a job, you probably want to know whether this person, once you have, succeeded to the last round and you are in the shortlist, so to speak, and then you know probably for who you would be working, the first thing I would do is to not stalk, but to at least look at the person's profile and to see whether I would love to be working in that company for that person. Because otherwise, if I already feel that it's not really, I don't feel a connection there, it doesn't resonate, it doesn't hit home with me, then I wouldn't go further in that application round. Okay, so it's really informative. And the other thing is, like I said already before, for me, when a very advanced leader's profile is really shiny in the sense of, wow, a lot of topics, posts regularly, very consistently, has a great brand image and something like that. So everything is very cohesive, perfectly polished. Then it's probably a hint for that person gets support by HR marketing. And then you should be aware about it at least, because that is something that is probably not the authentic voice, but instead it's more like what the company wants him or her to be acting like. Because at the end of the day, we all have to say, it takes a lot of time to be active on LinkedIn and to maintain such a high profile. And if that person is doing that a big portion of that workday, then I don't know whether that person is really leading a good company. I mean, that is really a lot of time, okay, so to speak. So you can do this with the support of a team, or at least a virtual assistant or something like that, but it's probably a lot of too much work for a CEO or, on the chief executive level. All right, so the other thing is you can have thought leaders. So especially for consulting companies are always like, they want to serve other companies with their expertise. So obviously they benefit from a huge following on LinkedIn, right? So they want to be visible, and that is a lot of their daytime, and also that is their work. Okay, so that's different. So thought leaders who have a service business model will be also very much visible, and also they probably have a shiny profile. Okay, so if you have already found value, please like it, share it with others, comment your questions. You can also comment your questions in the type form, the questionnaire that I've put onto my session overview page. So if you have questions, do please ask them. Okay, so again, There's another type of huge profiles, the big ones, who have over 1,000, 10,000 followers in LinkedIn, and they fall into two categories. One of them is the bad one, which is, I think at least it's a bad one, because it's really the LinkedIn open networker. Okay, so if you have a LinkedIn open networker, then it's sort of like it's called a lion, so LinkedIn Open Network. Sorry, that was my phone. And they are sort of like very open to connect with everyone, whoever there is. I don't know what they are doing, but they're trying to find a lot of people and then they can probably spam them with social engineering in the bad way. They are free. They are network marketers, for example. And then there's one category which I think that is really great, in the sense that these are also paid by the company, so they're also on the payroll. They are called corporate influencers or community builders. So they want to be corporate influencing like normal influencers. They want to transfer or transport a good image into the clients or the customers' point of views, right? So they want to make the company being sort of like visible en passant. Okay, so just they will be active in many ways, and it's not only the company that they are sharing, but it's they are all over the place, so to speak. But at the end of the day, it's brand awareness. Okay, so and there's another category that is, I would say, a personal brand. So all the social business, or all the businesses that are run by a person that is still in the growth cycle, or like a startup, they have to make a name for themselves in the internet, right? So they have to still be in the brand awareness stage. And that means that they have to actively market their name to the potential clients. So lead generation is something really important for them. And that's why they're really active. And that's why I think that they are the ones who you could emulate most. Okay, so if you are a postdoc or a PhD and you want to lead into business, then you should look after, or you should look for people you can learn from, because they have a similar agenda, once it's not the same, obviously, right? So they're great role models in networking, as they are also educating and entertaining their followers. And what you are educating about is that you've been doing that science, but you want to do something else. And now you have to inform your potential recruiters, your potential colleagues, your potential leaders about what you bring to the table that will solve their problem. So you are also educating them. And I stress educating. I stress also edutaining. So it should also be a little bit entertaining, because LinkedIn is a social platform. So it's not just plain business, plain information, but it's also more or less going into storytelling. And storytelling is something that I guess that many of you scientists actually do know. So it's SciComm, science communication, something like that. You just have to know about the context, the target group. But once you have set this straight for yourself, then you probably are good in telling a story behind that, finding something like that. So introducing that and discussing the finding, and finding the takeaways, so to speak. And that's the storytelling that works well on LinkedIn as well. Okay, so next one is there's an exchange, right? Networking doesn't happen that you take and never give. Okay, so the proportion is probably you will have to give a lot, and also for a very long time, and you'll never know whether you will be able once or multiple times to read what you have saw, I think, right? So it's sort of speak an exchange, and what you want probably is that you want to learn from the experts or the bridgeheads how to enter an industry, how to behave in that industry, how to sort of like understand the challenges of that industry and something like that. So you want social learning for your career transition. And what you also want is that you get insights of that industry, and that you see, oh, that industry is actually not really alive and kicking anymore, right? So it's like it's deteriorating, and you probably don't want to enter that if the people you are connecting with are also going away. That should be like, why would you want to enter an industry where most people will have to relocate anyway? Not relocate in terms of country, but in the sense of tasks, right? So this is something that you want to do in information interviews, and you probably won't get these interviews if you don't also offer something. So you shouldn't ask them like as a cold contact. You've never got to know them, you've never been introduced, you've just found their profile interesting, and then you're asking whether they have like 30 minutes of their time for you. That probably doesn't work. But instead, you have to become from a cold contact into a warm contact. I'll show you later how it works. But the best way to do that, to achieve that, is that you understand what their problem is, and that you cannot understand in the first second when you're meeting them, the first impression. But instead, you should find them, and then you should follow them and not connect them with them right away. But instead, you should read their comments, read their posts, see a pattern, see whether that pattern is truly repetitive or whether there was an outlier or something like that, so that you know what challenges that person has. And if you are able to comment smartly about that, and you say, I've seen that you've been trying like this and that, and then maybe that would be of interest for you because you've been posting on that topic. Maybe this is a news source that you haven't seen before, something like that. If you have followed that person, a person for a couple of months, so to speak, then you probably will see these insights, and then you can help solving their problems. And that's not the huge life and death problem, right? Obviously, but it's a problem that they may have and that they don't have time to challenge or to solve. And maybe this is something that you could do for them. You can solve that problem, and then they will be impressed by you. They will see you, and they will ask themselves, who's that person? I've seen that person around. And that happens also to me. I mean, I know that when I post, certain people will like it, even though I don't see that they would have to, but they do. And obviously I see that, and I also thank them. And if they will then ask me whether I have an opinion about this, something like that, sure, I would give some of my time on that, because they've been already giving to me. Okay. Good. So if you have any questions regarding networking, please let me know. I will also refresh my page here and go to the next page. So in a nutshell, it essentially is something that networking happens like I don't know whether you've seen the Mafia, the Godfather movie, right? So you have to, it's a give and take. And you should pay forward respectfully. So paying forward respectfully for potential later return on investment. And you will invest probably more. But if your investment is well chosen, because you have previously selected the people for who you would be offering help, then you probably will reap a lot of that investment further down the line. Because if they were strategically important for you, you will be probably stay connected with them for a longer time. And that means then if you've done that, you can later ask them in the sense of, for me, it was like I've been nice to a person, and 12 years later, she asked me whether I want to be a book author with her. And I was like, that's networking, right? So you'll never know, but to be a book author is something really important for us, especially, I'm a professor of industrial and occupational psychology. And to be honest, I wasn't really active in my research the last couple of 2 or 3 years because of the pandemic, right? So if someone offers me a book chapter, then that really is a huge, huge help for me, right? So I didn't expect it, but you'll never know who you are networking with and their kind of connections. And that's why I'm telling you, you should always invest first, and then you will probably reap further down the line. All right, then you can also have, or what I would say, the paving of your career path is also determined by the quality of your networking, right? So that means the more you network, the longer you have networked, you probably know a lot of inspiration and a lot of encouraging people who can show you this way or the other, right? So your career path, that will be unique anyway, because you've been a postdoc and you've been a PhD student leaping out of science. That will be probably a very unique way, because yes, I know a lot of most of the PhDs and most of the postdocs probably won't make it to professorship, so they will have to leave. But then again, based on the expertise that they have gained, they probably will find very niched down jobs, right? So not low jobs, but instead they will be very high profile and very, very seldom. And that makes them very unique, these career paths, right? But the better, more informative, and more powerful the people in your network are, the more you can benefit from that kind of networking, so that you will have always a plan B when something fails, right? So, because then you probably know in that pharmaceutical company, you probably know someone else who can give you a heads up of a new opening, and also give you some insights who'll be working in that team, so that you can prepare yourself, so that at the end of the day, you can already find out more on LinkedIn about that person before the official application round starts, so that you can use that to inform your application, in the sense of, I know that company is working on that kind of thing, and my past as a researcher on that type of method maybe was helpful for this, for getting this drug through to the next clinical phase, something like that. So, but that wouldn't be information that would be visible everywhere or in public, but instead it's based on knowing someone who knows. All right. So knowing someone who knows is something that you can't over stress, right? You cannot do this at the very first meeting, and you shouldn't do this very often. Okay, so you should think of, is that something I can ask her now, or is it, you don't want to, or sometimes I ask within my network expertise for one of my students, right? So, and I will truly think about this, which of my students, or who of my students I will give that privilege, because I can only, it's also my reputation within the network, whether I trust a student to be working with another person that I recommend to, right? So it's huge. It's a huge relationship, and I'm giving credit, so to speak, and that's why it's so important that you move from cold relationships to warm relationships, where you can also ask for a favor without having the feeling that it's somewhat awkward. okay? And the best thing is that what you can do is to minimize the risk of losing your network, because you don't know a lot of people. And if if you bruise one, if you for some reason mess up a relationship, it shouldn't be the only contact in that industry, because that isn't, otherwise that industry is for you a closed book, right? You don't want that. So you should always have a lot of contacts in every industry that you are interested in. And that's why you should have not only few, but rather you should move from few to many directions and also industries and contacts. Okay, good. And then looking back at what I have already shared with you about how to network for your career transition into business, looking back, you will probably see that there is a lot of time involved, right? From moving from one to, or very few contacts to many, from one industry to many industries, from cold to warm, from people you want to connect to because they are working in the right industry or at the right leadership level or something like that, or even just potential colleagues, something like that. Not everyone is active on LinkedIn all day, every day, all over the week, and across all seasons. Okay, so I bet that during the summertime, people won't be responsive. So if you need a job, then you don't start in the summertime and say, I need an information interview within the next week. You probably won't find a person who will be able to do this or to help you out, because we probably are already in an advanced age, right? So most of the people in LinkedIn are rather advanced. So I'm not saying boomers, but essentially we're probably over 40, 30, 40, something like that. So chances are that we have kids, and we probably will have summer breaks, and that makes it really hard for cold contacts to contact anyone because they don't have enough time. And that's why I'm telling you, you should plan your career leave. Like I already said in the previous career session, at least a year. I would say to have a less stress time applying for a job when you are in your final year of the PhD, that's great. But also if you're in a postdoc, just 1 year before your contract expires, right? So at least 6 to 9 months before the end, you should try and find the right people in LinkedIn. And that also means that you have a profile that really serves you well. I think I also have no, I don't have it, but you should have a profile in LinkedIn that really serves you well, that should mirror your CV, and the CV is optimized, fine-tuned for business purposes. Okay, so not every academic milestone, paper, and everything like that doesn't have to be in the CV and LinkedIn. Instead, it should be something that the business people will understand and also find interesting, whether that also applies to something that they can relate to. And I think this relationship also builds on being able to relate your transferable skills to them. If you want to work for them, they should be your target, and they should be the people you serve with your CV and your transferable skills. And they are then ideally visible, audible in your posts and comments. Okay? Right. So I'm closing in the sense that I want to discuss, or I have some time for you to discuss your questions. And also I'm closing in the sense that I'm offering also a free email course. And I've been an IT strategy consultant at Accenture. So whatever I do in my business is strongly informed by IT, so that I can have a very cost sensitive, so to speak, service level for individual PhD students, postdocs, and also PhD candidates. And that is something that I call the free email course. In that free email course, you will have 10 actionable emails They are also bingeable so that you can start or until you can start your job in your business. And these are the 10 emails that will help you from start to finish in the sense of like ideally 12 months or 6 at the most, or at least 6 months. You should think about whether you want to leave out of science, and then you should build your sustainable LinkedIn profile. So LinkedIn profile is something that I already discussed, alluded to earlier in this session today, and also will dive in a little bit from a different perspective tomorrow. Okay, and the sustainable is this thing that you will have to maintain your profile. You cannot just use it as I just uploaded my profile and that's it. If you're not active on that, that's dead. You don't want that, right? So, and I already know a lot of recruiters who say, if you're not on LinkedIn, then probably I don't want you. Because if you are in business and you don't understand that LinkedIn is really important, then how will you connect with other people? How will you connect with the supplier? How will you connect with potential clients? Right? So that's why it's so important to be there before you enter a job, okay, before you enter the company. Okay, then you can use also LinkedIn for researching your favorite jobs, employers. I will also share how you should do information interviews, and also I think that is really important, how to create customized applications that are also read by machines or able to be read by machines. And also you could also prepare your thesis. So if you're still a PhD student or a candidate, you can also learn how to create a thesis overview, a summary, or what I call that is an executive summary, so that people in business will be enticed by whatever you have offered as research topics, so that they can see whether they can use that also within their company, or at least they understand it. And that's also important, that they don't feel dumb when they read your doctoral title and also your thesis, if they ever have a look on it. And then the other thing is, there's a strategy behind how you apply to your favorite employers, and I would like to share that with you also in that free email course. And I also bet that you will have a couple of job offers, and you should then again weigh that against your vision of life. Like yesterday's session was about, the 8th point I think was about, what is your vision of life beyond the PhD? And if you have multiple job offers, I want you to also think about them, which of the job offers will serve you not only today or tomorrow, but also in your long-term vision of life. Okay. And then obviously, if you're done your research and you did your homework regarding the jobs that job offers, then you can only prepare for that new job. And that is something that I also want to support you in the last email. All right, so if you're thinking, why do I offer a lot of stuff for free? Then that's because my work for free is paid or supported, powered by the graduate schools, who actually do book me for e-courses, deep dive, where I go into much more detail than now, but also more in my free email course. I do workshops for them, and I also have a membership that is accompanying their PhD students in their last year for 1 year. So we have monthly meetings for another 1 or 2 hours, where they can discuss their job ads, where they can show me their CV, their application, their motivation letters, or whatever it is, right? So we can also role play to prepare them for the interview and something like that. So I do earn my money from graduate schools, but I obviously want to share my knowledge also with the postdocs who aren't able to benefit from my services anymore, because I only work with graduate schools and universities. And some PhD students also don't have a very innovative or forward-thinking, future-oriented, future-proof graduate school, so I also don't want to let them down. So if you have PhD friends who don't have a graduate school that is supportive, then please do share my free services. All right? So, do you have any questions? I see a couple of them in the type form. Let me see. Okay, they're a little bit personal, so I would then, if you have a personal question, then I will also record an answer, and then if you leave your email address in that form, I will send you that answer. Or I will post it in TikTok or Instagram and then send you the link so that you can then, the video in LinkedIn or in TikTok or Instagram won't have your name. It will be without the names, obviously, for privacy reasons, but you will see then the link as an answer to your question. And I think in TikTok today, I also already answered one question that was by a person who has a PhD in zoology and wants to leap out of science. And I offered her a couple of job descriptions that I think that are maybe suitable for her. Okay, so let me see. Just make sure that in the National Postdoc Appreciation Week all over the world, you will have a lot of career relevant sessions, so that if you want to follow them up, I would say that if you are a PhD student thinking about a postdoc, then attending these workshops is also a great insight for you, whether that university, that graduate school will offer even the postdocs a great counseling service. I mean, obviously, postdocs do not need career counseling anymore in the sense of like they already made their mind, but it could be that you need support, and especially for the Ruhr University of Bochum in Germany, where I am an alumna, and that graduate school, the graduate school, research school, is also offering all their career services for their postdocs as well. So I'm serving them, not only them being the PhD students, but also their postdocs. And I think that is really a grand idea and very, I think that's really showing the way how postdocs are appreciated every day at a university and not just during the postdoc appreciation week. All right, so closing now, I would love to extend my thank you for your attention. If you don't have any questions anymore, then I will leave you so that you can have another event in a couple of minutes, probably. That would be like 5 o'clock, 6, I don't know, it's like 4 o'clock in the evening or afternoon. Bye.